Hi, this is Tatiana. As I say in the beginning of all my videos, I am not a doctor, and this video series is part of my own coping strategy. And also, my hope is that there'll be a viewer out there who can have their gut feelings validated, because I know what it's like to be alone when you're in a narcissistic and abusive relationship. So this video is about leaving, and this is actually my second attempt to do this video because there's just so much to say and so many concerns. If you look through, I believe I have a album now that's my personal stories, and that is 3 different narcissistic abusive relationships that I've been in from beginning to end, to kind of give you an indicator of what I've been through. And also, I guess, in that video series, I'm also pointing out how different the relationships can be. And so that is why I'm pausing. And in fact, I had to write some notes to make sure that I cover everything, because every situation is different. There's a million different ways that someone could be abusing you. You know, they look for what ways hurt you. And as I've said before in another one of my videos, I had one boyfriend who did try to be physically violent with me, and he punched me in the face, and it just immediately triggered a reaction in me, and I punched him in the face. So I have a lot of experience being physically abused by my father, but as far as leaving a relationship like that, I haven't had to do that. But I can say that I've been through abuse training as a sexual assault victim services volunteer. We had to go through extensive training, and I can tell you this, that the training that your helpers go through really drill in the fact that a physically abusive relationship is very dangerous. So I just want to give you that side note, that if no matter what I say, if you are right now in a physically abusive relationship, you need to consider what to do to get safe. So at the end of this video, and also on the link for the video, I put the, in the United States, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number. So please give them a call and tell them what your situation is right away. Okay, so leaving, I'm going through my notes, so sorry if I get academic. Anyway, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that I wanted to make. So number 1 is that you want to, in an abusive relationship, if you are going to leave, the first thing to do is to start identifying the games that narcissists play. This will help you, and I do have an album that I'm working on to add the games that I have observed of narcissists, the games that they play. And that series is really what helped me get out of my the last relationship that I had with a narcissist much more quicker, because I knew the games. They still hurt, but they hurt a lot less, and I could see clearly. So one of the things that I did in my previous marriage, when I started to realize that there were narcissistic games, was I would keep track of my partner's behavior on a calendar. So if this is a woman or man, you keep track of their behavior. And in my personal experience, a narcissist can't handle positive, truly loving interaction. So I started to mark down when we had truly loving interaction, at least on my part, and then how he would sabotage that within 3 days. And once I saw that pattern repeated itself every time, that was the beginning of me leaving. I mean, it took me a long time in that particular relationship, but it was the first step. And the second thing about keeping track of that was to stop participating. recognize the games and realize that you have been made a participant in the game. They are doing something that hurts you, whether it's physical violence, whether it's rejection, whether it's passive aggressive behavior. They're doing something that hurts you, and your hurt reaction is what they want. It's what they feed off of. So once you stop participating and gaining control of your own reaction, even if you do behave hurt or behave afraid, you don't have to feel that way anymore. And that will also help you get clearer and help you out of the confusion that an abusive relationship leads you into. The second point is a saying that I had come up with when I was leaving my ex-husband, and that is, it takes two to tango. Again, that is a segue for stop participating. It takes two to tango, meaning you have to change your own behavior when you're planning on leaving an abusive relationship. You want to start getting healthy so you can get into a healthy relationship and be in healthy relationships with your family members and coworkers, etc. But for you, you need to change your behavior. Don't react. Again, what's happening will become clearer to you. I like to say, if you don't like this song, don't dance. So when your partner is doing something to you in order to create a rise, whether they're gaslighting or whatever it is, using medical drama, go through those games that narcissists play, you do not have to participate. You're going to start, once you become aware of it, you're going to start feeling the yucky emotions and realize, oh, when I have this yucky emotion, a game is being played and I really don't like the sound of this song, so I'm not going to participate. Point number 3 is to not confront your narcissist or your abuser. This is the one that they really drilled into us in our training, is that confronting that narcissist, that abuser, telling them that they're abusive, telling them that you're leaving, telling them that they aren't a good person, etc. All of those things are confronting your narcissist, and I've never heard anyone recommending that. I have done it myself in experiments, and so I can validate that the only thing you will do is make things worse. It will just be worse because if you're not participating, it takes them a little while to realize that you're no longer participating. But if you confront them, you're telling them, I'm not going to participate. And that is just going to make them try harder to find a way around your brick wall. And if they can't find a way around it, they're just going to start beating that brick wall down, if that makes sense. So don't accuse them. Don't tell them you're leaving. And keep track of how do I word that? What helped me was to keep track of what was going on, even though I wasn't confronting them. A lot of times, by the time that we realize we're in an abusive relationship, that abuser has already isolated us from friends and family for whatever reason they came up with, and we believed we are now isolated from friends and family. And so we usually don't have someone to talk to. And, you know, when something's happening and you're like, this is making me go crazy, is this really happening? Is this what they're really doing? Or you want to confront them and say, are you really doing that? Or I think you're doing this, and you can't do that. The best thing for me to do was to journal it. And now I was able to hide my journal in a safe place. And I also was able I would take photographs of a wide variety of things that were happening to me, something photographic that represented what was happening. And I put it on a Facebook album. And if you have Facebook, you can have a photo album on there that you can only have yourself see it, or in my case, my best friend could see it. And my best friend couldn't do anything to help, but it helped to put it on there and rant and rave and, you know, be angry, be frustrated, but to not actually confront the person who was doing it to me. But I felt like I had someone to share with. even if that person couldn't do anything. It helped me keep my sanity. Okay, so number 4 is to make a plan. I know that, again, during my training, they talked a lot about making a plan. And in my 3 experiences, I can say that on 2 of them, I did have a plan formulating. So on my first relationship, I did not have a plan. I freaked out, and then thank God someone rescued me. The second relationship, my marriage, I was so depressed by the time I got out of that after 12 years. I vaguely had a plan. I only really at that point, I had a plan to save my life. I had a plan to get out of the house, get to a friend's house, and get on medication and figure it out later. That it was just emotional survival at that point. And I did go through with that plan. It was a very flimsy plan, but it did hold together and work. And the third relationship, I was in the process of making a plan, and thankfully he left. So that, to me, is the ideal situation. So please watch that. That's the covert, overt narcissist. If they leave you, that's the best thing. Okay, and let's see. So regarding making a plan, I was kind of thinking about that, and you can watch the horror movie if you want to. But Sleeping with the Enemy is a good example of a woman. That's Julie. I'm already forgetting her name. Anyway, but Sleeping with the Enemy, she does make a plan, and it's a very long-term plan. She doesn't confront her narcissist. She puts up with what's happening to her as she's making her plan. And, of course, he comes back to haunt her later. And that is what I'm saying is it is a very strong concern within the support organizations for abused women, that if you have a physically abusive person, you really, when you leave, you have to leave. And that is a very, very hard thing to do. That is where you disappear. Like my first relationship where I had to get a restraining order. He did not know where I lived. He didn't have the address of where I worked. I had to get a restraining order. And there's no contact. He never had a phone number. There is no calling him and saying, I'm really upset, that we broke up, but blah, blah, blah. There's nothing. You're out. And he was a physically dangerous person. Like I said, he didn't abuse me, but he did have weapons and had threatened to use those weapons. So that is a very serious concern. Physical violence, weapons violence. When you leave, be prepared to leave and never, ever go back. I did try to leave him a couple of times without a plan, and I like to call those test runs. So, and when you get back, there's always a honeymoon period, right? They're going to apologize and everything, but they will return to it, and sometimes it's going to be worse. Even right away worse when you get back. I've been with my mom when she was in an abusive relationship, and somehow her husband convinced her to come home, and it was terrible. He was physically abusive to her. We had a kitten in the car. He picked us up, and the honeymoon lasted about 10 minutes until we were on the highway, and he's screaming and yelling, and he grabbed our kitten and threw it out of the window on the freeway. That is a physically abusive person escalating the level of abuse. So he had already hit her multiple times, had broken bones, and she left him. And when she went back, it was escalated. So please take your time. If you need to take your time to make a plan, or get out with no contact at all with that other person until you are physically safe. The other side of that is not having a plan. And if you watch that movie about Tina Turner, they did a movie about her called What's Love Got to Do with It? And in that movie, she doesn't leave with a plan, and she is with a physically abusive man, a famous physically abusive man, and no plan. And she leaves, and but she had money. So There's a lot of things to consider about having a plan or not having a plan. Just keep yourself safe. Just the number one rule is to keep yourself safe. If you need to lie to your abuser while you're waiting to leave, then do it. The number one priority is you. You can't take any care of anybody else unless you're taking care of yourself. So please prioritize yourself and your own safety. If your gut is telling you that you need to leave because you're in physical danger immediately, then leave. Okay? And like I said, in the United States, you can call the domestic violence hotline number, and they can tell you a shelter to go to. They can tell you what kind of resources there are for you, if there's anything in your area where you can go. And you can also, talk your brains out, share whatever it is that you need to share, so that they can help you. Be honest with them, and help them help you. I know that I had volunteered at a shelter once where there were families from other states because their spouse was so dangerous. And so there are services out there. They might be difficult to find, but keep on searching, and remember to always clear your browsing history, clear your phone history, do whatever you need to do to protect yourself and protect your privacy. Okay, and lastly then, when you leave, my fifth point is to remember again that the abuse is going to increase, and make sure that you do everything that you can to protect yourself. That means if you have children or pets, you find a place for your pets. And if you have children, that is a tricky one. And I think most of the time, at least when I was researching women's shelters, they're going to keep you from having any contact with that partner for a month. That's what they told me here in Los Angeles. And that is for your safety, because you can't help it. 3, 4, 5 days later, you're like, did I make a mistake? It sucks living in this shelter. I'm afraid. I just want my life back. I really want him to love me. Maybe he does love me. He must be missing me, blah, blah, blah. And then you call. And then that period of time is when women who are physically abused truly get hurt. And so usually they do put you on a communication lockdown. So be prepared for that and respect that. It is for your own good. I've done it. I have done it. I have left and gone back and left and gone back. I have made the mistake, and I can tell you that if you've done that, you're going to do it again. So make sure you're ready for lockdown. And with your kids, even, and you can discuss with the hotline that you are concerned about your children, and how to do that legally, to remove your children and to do everything legally, meaning you can get a restraining order, and that'll give you a space of time to keep your children away from the abusive spouse. And also, if you are going to be filing for divorce, you can file for spousal support. And depending on your state, you may or may not be able to get that spousal support while remaining anonymous. Your address and contact information remaining anonymous. People at the women's shelter can help you through that process. Anything left for me? Yeah, just that last point that I said earlier about I'm a woman, so I'm sorry if I say he. I have definitely witnessed women being abusive to their partners, but so forgive me for making that repeated error. But the best scenario is for your abuser to choose to leave you. And after a long-term relationship, that can be difficult to navigate, but if you watch that overt video that I did, that's an example of someone getting bored with me because I recognized the games right away, and I'm going through that list again. I recognized the games right away. It takes two to tango, so I didn't participate in those games. I didn't confront him. I did confront him on a couple of occasions, but that was confirming my suspicions. I was in the process of making a plan, and when he left, there was no contact. He tried many, many times to have contact, and I would ignore them as long as I could until there was some threat of him physically coming for contact, and then I would explain to, and eventually I had to say, don't even respond to my text message. I will get a restraining order if you even respond to this text message. Do not send this. And I listed everything I could possibly think of that I did not want him to do. And he has not contacted me since. And that took a long time. But I did go through all of those steps that I explained of leaving. And I did that quickly. And he left. Again, I believe that's because it was the beginning of the relationship. I immediately recognized what he was doing. And so every day he tried another game. And because I acted like it didn't hurt, they did hurt. But because I acted like they didn't hurt, he could not find a way to hurt me. And I'm not giving him narcissistic supply. So he has to go find it elsewhere. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, if it doesn't, leave a comment in the comment section under the video. And I know I'm talking fast, and I just wanted to address that subject because, good golly, I didn't have anything like this when I was trying to get out of relationships. I didn't even have someone who was really telling me, you know, that this is going to happen. So hopefully this is a help for you, and you can just listen to your gut feelings and educate yourself as much as you can about what's actually happening, what's truthfully happening in your relationship, and just take care of yourself no matter what. Take care of yourself. And let me see. So as I was saying at the end, the National Domestic Violence Hotline here in the United States is 1-800-799-SAFE. Ooh, there goes the train. 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233. There's the train. I hope that your train is leaving the drama station very soon. Okay? Much love. Mwah.